deeper than music. The core of you, the fans, the truth is deeper than music, deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music, deeper than music. The core of you, the fans, the truth is deeper than music, deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music, deeper than music.
What up, what up, what up? It's your man Furious, Deeper Than Music Radio. Behind every great song, there's an even greater story. I like to say what's up to the listeners listening via Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Today we have a very special treat. I always tell people it's all about networking. There's so much great music out there that it's, you know, you got to dig deep in the trenches to find good music. As a music connoisseur, I hang out with people that like good music, and that's usually a foundation for the connection. So shout out to Erica, a good friend of mine. She brought to my attention an artist based out of Kentucky that's doing real big things, making real good music, and I know everybody's fresh off of the Avengers movie. He has a video and song that you definitely need to check out, Thanos. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mirage here in the building on Deeper Than Music Radio. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
Yep.
Hey, man, nice to meet you.
So how's everything going out there in Kentucky, man? I don't know if you guys are like us, man. We've been getting slammed with weather left and right. We like getting beat up. Is it like that out there in Kentucky?
Yeah, man, Kentucky's crazy. It'll rain one day, it'll be pouring, and then the next day it's like sunny. So you have I don't even crack my windows to my car when it's hot out because like it could pour and rain in like 10 minutes. So
yeah,
you never know. Yeah.
So the first question I want to ask, this podcast is worldwide, you know, with the internet, you know, everything's worldwide. For the people that haven't heard of Mirage, what is your sound and what are you bringing to music, particularly hip-hop music?
Wow, that's deep. Deeper than music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my sound is a lot like it's constantly transforming. Initially, I would say it's kind of in the lane of like a Kendrick, Lamar, J. Cole.
Okay.
For the new age, for the old age, kind of like a Nas kind of feel mixed with Jay-Z. But now it's kind of shifting. I'm really getting inspired by Tyler the Creator right now.
Okay.
So, and not mimicking people, but really trying to be fully myself in the creative process. And just, so I would say now my sound is kind of transforming into like something completely different that I don't know, you know, what you would define it as. It's kind of unique in that way. So I think that's kind of my lane. And then I think, as far as what was the second half of that question, like what?
What are you bringing to hip hop music, or what are you bringing to music?
Yeah, I think what I'm bringing is definitely positivity. I think there's so much negativity out there now that's just easy to come by. What I try to bring is like a positive impact. I really want to impact people's minds, and I want them to think. I think we live in a culture now that kind of doesn't think. So I want people to think, and I want people to decipher my words, but I'm also wanting to create change. So I have to balance that with sometimes, you know, dumbing it down a little bit. Not saying people are dumb and nothing like that, but just dumbing it down for the sense of, you know, I want to convey a message. So, yeah, I want to challenge you. I want to grow your mind. I want you to think. But at the same time, I don't want you to get it lost in that. I don't want that process to be too much. So it's always about, for me, finding that delicate balance where you can challenge people's intellect and try to grow them. But then you can also, you know, come with just straight up, here's what I'm saying, boom, 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 real direct like.
And you brought up a good point. I don't mean to interrupt. I tell people, because I'm also an artist as well, it's all about, and even when you interact with people, it's all about how you deliver the message. Like, for example, I'm a father of a 12-year-old daughter that thinks she knows it all. And now my approach with her is like, I can't be like, I'm daddy, this is what you listen to daddy. I have to challenge her to think about her decisions, to think about cause and effect. Another thing that I want to touch upon, even doing the research, I do see. I don't know if you have a podcast, do you have a podcast? I know you've been on shows speaking, particularly about when they see us. You hit on a lot of good things, and this is me as an artist. Is my struggle is when I was young. We were all young. We listened to crazy music, but now as I'm older, you are what you take in. One takeaway that I took away from when they see us is we're already seen in a negative light. The negative images, the negative imagery, the negative stereotypes with us can be deadly. With that, we have to people like you have to wake people up. There needs to be a better alternative because you're already perceived as a threat. Wilden, I applaud you for what you do because somebody asked me a very important question about 10 years ago. What is fabulous about being ghetto? And speaking to you makes me think about that, and I applaud you for that because what we see now in the world is the bad can be destructive, especially for us.
Definitely. I'm glad you brought up that point with the when they see us, because that really had a profound impact on me. I actually reached out directly to Yusef, just kind of like, man, I have no idea what that experience was like, but you have my full support. He's actually a motivational speaker himself.
Yeah, that's what I saw, and he's got his degrees and he's doing big things.
Yeah, so I just felt like I connected with him the most because we do a lot of similar things. He actually does poetry as well. But the as far as the story itself, it just had a profound effect on me. And for a lot of people may look at me and not know, but I'm half black. So I'm half black and half white, but my skin is more white tone, as you can see if you're seeing this stream here. But some people are not going to see the stream. So that's a whole nother thing as well. Like that has its own set of challenges. So I can relate to my own challenges, but I can relate to their challenges that they expressed in this documentary and just the whole Central Park 5 story.
Yeah.
So for me, it was it's a crazy thing, man, and it's definitely deadly to be black in America right now. I feel like I think that's a strong example of that. But yeah, I think that there's certain things that we experience that not a whole lot of people experience.
No.
And, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say my daughter's biracial, and her one thing that she brings up, and it's a lot. We have a lot of deep conversations about race in America, and just things. Kids absorb a lot. And by her wanting to talk about her questions about humanity and what's going on in America speaks a lot to what's going on. And how could you not watch that movie and not be affected, man? How could you not watch that series and be affected? And I think what you said touches upon a lot because we, especially in urban music, there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of empires. There's like a lot of baked in stereotypes that you see in everything that's urban. You know what I mean? And I feel like as a people, we have to change the narrative. I love what Tyler Perry said yesterday at the BET Awards. No, create your own, build your own brand. A lot of things are exclusive. You know what I mean? Exclusivity. If they don't want us to be a part of, the Oscars or whatever, you know what? Let's build our own. Let's create our own narrative. And that's one thing that you're doing that I applaud. You're in the genre of urban music. Unfortunately, there's a lot of negativity. Very rarely do you hear mainstream songs by J. Cole or Talib Kweli or a Nas. I think the last mainstream thing that he did was very positive. Was I Know I Can. So. Yeah, that's all I have. Oh, can you hear me? Okay, yeah, so that definitely a movie that everybody in America should peep out. Another question I had is when did you know that you wanted to be an artist? I guess this is my brown sugar question. When did you fall in love with hip hop and knew that it was something that you wanted to be involved in?
Oh man, from a very early age, my mom would bounce me on my knee to rhythm, to teach me rhythm and stuff like that, and like without even knowing it, I was being exposed to so much. I'm the youngest of three, so I heard a lot of music from my brother's bedrooms. And a lot of times it was just the bass line. You couldn't make out any of the words. So, because that was when, I mean, systems are still a big thing now, but back then it was like really a huge thing.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, I would just be literally playing with action figures in my room and be like, do, like, and you don't even know the words. It's just the bass line. So I'd say ever since then, and like I said, even as a little baby, being bounced on a knee is when I started to really appreciate just music in general.
Yeah, and then like rhythm and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then hip hop, man. One of my earliest memories is like some of the first CDs I owned. I had that. I had Ludacris, Back for the First Time, his first like studio album, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
And I had some Redman's Malpractice 4, I think, and just like a couple CDs like that. And I was the kid in high school that had like one of those big thick CD binders with like CDs all over.
Oh yeah, like it's like a big book. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and a CD player on top, and I would just walk through school like every class, in between class, like I just constantly had that on. And so, you know, kids was probably like, "Man, that's the Walkman dude." You know, that was, you know, that was my thing. So yeah, I really just fell in love with it, and then as I got older, I really started to go deeper, and started to listen to your Nas's, some other than that, you know. And then here recently, I've gone to the '80s, to the originators. And really listening to like Kumo D and like,
oh man,
yeah, like the Furious Five and like just really all that Slick Rick, you know, KRS-One, and just really listening to what African Bambaataa. I'm just trying to think of different artists, but yeah,
it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned Kumo D, because one of my first records that I owned was the Kumo D. I Go to Work. And the funny part about Kumo D is, in the album cover, he has a Jeep in the background, and the Jeep is kind of like the tire is running over a Kango. So it was kind of around that Kumo D, LL Cool J beef. You talking about the golden age of hip hop?
That's crazy. So he was dissing LL in that shot.
Yeah, and then like his song "I Go to Work," you know, and then the glasses and the Wild Wild West and the hip hop song "Wild Wild West," not the alternative song, but man, that's you brought back some rich history and memories.
Yeah, and I'm still really learning a lot about some of the really old stuff myself. I watch a lot of documentaries and stuff, just really, and a lot of the artists that I like now, you know, they tell their stories on different interviews about who inspires them and who got them, and then I learn from that. So it's like one of the things that I really like to do, and I kind of pride myself on, is looking at not who I like, but who I liked.
Oh, okay.
You know, I want to go to who they listen to and who inspired them, and learn from that the way that they did to become, you know what I'm saying, whatever I want to be. So I think a really big hero for me is like James Brown.
Oh man, you mentioned another person, because when you said like, I thought about Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson was in turn inspired by James Brown, inspired by so many people, and he had like one big melting pot. Like for instance, that Smooth Criminal video, I didn't know that was based off a older video. I forget the name. It's a famous dancer. Oh, Fred Astaire. It was based off a Fred Astaire video. And he studied like Sam Cooke, and James Brown heavily influenced that dude. So yeah, man, you're doing the right thing by studying the greats, and you know, adding that to your toolkit and who you are as an MC.
Yeah, James Brown's really unique because, you know, I don't know that a lot of people are shouting out James Brown like, man, James Brown's, you know, But the thing is with him and his sound, and this is of course no depreciation of his like all time greatness, but like he wasn't known as like maybe the most polished singer, you know, like he was more yelling on the track.
Yeah.
But it was dope. I mean, he could sing and he had a registry and all that kind of stuff, but it was just a completely different style than the other people that were in his era. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, and then just his stage presence and his ability to just control what was happening on stage and control the whole moment, instrument by instrument, you know, solo by solo, and he would just put together these incredible productions.
Yep.
And this is back in, I mean, I don't even know, like 60s, like, I mean, he's going in.
Yep.
And so anyway, I just learned a lot from being a real master of ceremonies, being an MC, and how to, you know, every time I step into a room, my thought process is I need to control that room.
Yep. And like you also, you brought up with James Brown, heavily sampled break beats. And you mentioned 80s music, break beats, heavy. James Brown vocal sampled. That think, like hold on to your love, in Vogue. James Brown, what was it? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the closing credits, James Brown, any breakbeat loop, James Brown, like his sound was the foundation of hip hop.
Yeah, man, he's nasty, and he, I mean, he was so talented, and you know, rest in peace with James Brown. But I mean, he really is a legend, and yeah, he's somebody that I've studied a lot. The man, I mean, you go on Spotify, there's like almost 1,000 albums, like so many albums.
Wow, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Man, I don't even know what to listen to.
So we talked a lot about.
Know how many albums.
Yeah, he's done a lot. So I got the queued up the song that grabbed my attention. Your single Thanos. Can you give us the story behind this song?
Yeah, absolutely. So Thanos is one of my latest singles. It's not my latest, but it's like the one right before it. I actually dropped 2 singles like back to back. But Thanos is really about kind of the villain in Marvel in the Avengers movie. Thanos is this powerful. When I saw the first one, Infinity War, when I saw that and just how it ended and just the whole thing, without giving away any spoilers, because there may be some people who still ain't seen it. But just seeing how much of a boss he is, and like he controls, so much with that gauntlet, with the Infinity Gauntlet and all the stones in it, and you pretty much can't stop him. And so I feel like a lot of times I'm the villain in the rap game, because it's like I've got all this talent. But a lot of people may be angry at that or bothered by that or something like that, or they want to do a different thing, and so they're mad that I'm doing what I'm doing. So in some ways, I'm like a villain, and I'm embracing that role in Thanos and showing my range, showing different skill sets that I can do, different flows, different speeds. I really love doing wordplay a lot. So in Thanos, that's kind of what the whole dynamic is.
Okay. So now we got the story behind the music. We're getting deeper the music with Mirage. And now you got the story behind the song that we're going to play now, Thanos by Mirage, here on Deeper Than Music Radio. This is Marquivas Furious Nias, and you're listening to Deeper Than Music Radio.
Yeah. Hey, they know. Whoa. Thanos, what's my name? They know. Oh my God. Thanos, whoa. They know. Thanos, oh my God. They know. Perfect. Thanos. I hold the whole world in my hands, holding the stance. Know you a fan, froze with they dome in the sand. Whoa, holding your pants, don't understand. They was John Doe's in advance, those in the gear. I'm sleepwalking on all these artists, least to me so they can be the farthest. Elementary leapfrogging, at least y'all can just suspect with the success. You would suck less if you put less in the cut less. Cut records ain't cut rest, but you in the cut trying to get a cut. Take a buck less and a slug rest right above chest. Gut check for the gut less and a buck fest with some rug rats. Gun rest and a lock car in this contest to the contents, but it all ends in my conquest. They know, they knows, what's my name? They know, they knows, they know, they knows, oh my God, they know. What am I doing? How do I cool it for all of my students? Look at my prudence, wonder what a tool is. I ain't never use it, man, with a movement, man, that's improvement. Yeah, I might crack, never had to move it. What I gotta move then? Guess it be the music. Yeah, I got the juices, you don't wanna choose this. I gotta be so ruthless. Anybody see where Ruth is? Hey. They know, they knows. What's my name? They know, they knows. Whoa, they know, they knows. Oh my God, they know. On the track, I'm at growing bad it. Come back, we'll back up, combative. Might be, I might feed the addict. You and me is 3 mathematics. I'm 2 against the 1, it's automatic. Shouldn't be asleep up on the mattress. Bigger than it seems, a freak of catfish. See that I'm a beast, stand savage. Need to get in practice, you can get to the back of the back end of the wagon. Where the bags is, you would never had to keep up with the passes. You molasses to the masses, and imagine. And a pastor, and a passes, and I'm passing. On the passes with a passion. Where your glasses need the classes for the classics. And I'm clashing with a passing up the batters that you gassing up. You don't even got the gas enough to hop on and blast with us. You a passenger in the back of an Acura. Vernacular, you find it a ratchet club. Seem like you racking up. The rapper will track your love. Get to the shine and back you up. They know. They knows. What's my name? They know. They knows. They know. They knows. Oh my God. They know. They knows.
In the words of Charlemagne the God, drop one of them DJ Clue bombs on him. That song Thanos is fire, my friend. Definitely bringing the wordplay to the game and lyrics.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
man.
No problem, man.
Try to bring that fire on that one.
So, besides James Brown, who else inspires you as a musician, or influences you? I'm sorry.
I really, like I said, I think I said earlier, Tyler, the Creator, is a really big one. He just put out that Igor album, and I personally think it's his best album, his best piece of work. I just love the theme. I love how he's connecting everything musically. I love that he arranges his own music. So, you hear that title, Tyler, the Creator, and it's not just for, as a moniker. He really is creating most of his work, if not all of it. He's arranging it. He's picking everything. He's the one who's directing his music videos. So he has a lot of creative authority in his work, and I really appreciate that. And just seeing how his brain works, like how he comes up with different things, seeing, like I said, just the sounds alone in Igor are just amazing. And how he's arranging those sounds. I think it's a similar thing for Kanye and Pharrell for me. I listen to their music and how they structure it, how they put it together. Kanye's real big now he's always been into sampling and things. And now it's like, as he's evolved, his sampling has become like chant based. And there almost will be chants in music that he makes now.
Yeah.
And I'm really attracted to that. So I really like this like nuanced new thing where people are just really taking free expression to a whole nother level. And I think Tyler's a big one of those that's in the kind of the new age music we have now.
Yeah, no, they're definitely. So it sounds like you like people that embrace music as a whole and create their own movements. Kanye West created his own movement. Tyler, the Creator's creating his own movement. Pharrell, that Neptune sound. You can. Pharrell's music is very distinguishable, and I love the genesis of his sound. Because I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard Noriega's Super Thug, I'm like, who's this dude in the background with the mustache and the straw hat? You know what I mean? But Pharrell does his own thing, man. And I think the biggest people that make the biggest impact are the ones that create their own sound and create their own movements. So you're inspired by some great people, man. That not only
Whack to that list too. She's very unique. She does like little 1 minute songs, and I was so mad and so angry because her music would be so great and it would end. The song would end. You'd be like, what just happened? Like, did it mess up? And I had to double check and be like, oh, it's a 1 minute song. What is she doing? And then I started to really learn her artistry, and I was like, wow, she's on to something big. And then she was actually interviewed by Gary Vaynerchuk recently. And I watched that interview and was just like, wow. So he's seeing the same thing that I saw, or when I first heard her music, that she's about to blow up and be huge. But I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to make sure I added her to that list.
Oh, no problem, man. We like to know your influences. And I like the fact that you take the approach of being a student in the game. It's like, when you play basketball, you got to know the basics. You got to know the foundation. And I know a lot of complaints by the older hip-hop crowd, or, the, how do you say? Well, the upper echelon. They say that the young cats don't really appreciate the foundation. They don't study where this art came from and the creators that created the foundation. I like that you take that approach, because you can definitely tell it in your flow, man. It's precise. It's on point, the timing, the punchline, the cadence. So you definitely can tell that you're a student of the game. The next track that I have is Dominoes. Can you give us a rundown on this song?
Absolutely. So Dominoes is in some ways a metaphor. Black and white. Dominoes are typically black and white. I'm black and white.
Yeah.
And so, but it's also about, I think, just black struggle, African American struggle. And so it talks about how I grew up, essentially, and how my environment was. And it's one of the singles that's on my upcoming EP. So,
okay. And before we flip to this song, before I forget, after this song, let's talk Logic. I want your thoughts on Logic, because you mentioned, you're also biracial and in the hip-hop game. So just park that for now, and now we're going to go ahead and go into Dominoes by Mirage here on Deeper Than Music Radio.
This is Gary Devon Dodson, and you're listening to Deeper Than Music Radio.
All I know is that we keep falling. We be squeezed up in apartments. It was told to me that we be targets. Hey, stay away from police departments. Dominoes. All I know is that we keep falling. We be squeezed up in apartments. It was told to me that we be targets. Hey, stay away from police departments. Mom and dad was an alcoholic. They decided they find no college. Had a bunch of cheese, won't see no cottage. I think we broke, but I can't define it. See us dressed up in the finest, at our best when we in the brightest. This a set of a TV pilot, TD Jakes, lemon lyman, gin and French, 7-5-ing. See this place, see these drapes, see these brakes, Curtis blow, see these plates, PSA. Joe might come over, smoke later. One with that old blazer, might be out on that couch later. Don't you be all out till like 8 or 9, time to go see that girl. Second time trying to see them curl. Hours later, get called on phone, do that hands around mama throat. All I know is that we keep falling. We be squeezed up in apartments. It was told to me that we be targets. Hey, stay away from police departments. Dominoes. All I know is that we keep falling. We be squeezed up in apartments. It was told to me that we be targets. Hey, stay away from police departments. Mom white, dad black, fat sack in his Cadillac. Passed out at the stoplight, trying to get him out cop sights. That became my own thought life. He African, I'm African. He like I was gone, but I'm back again. Love was lacking on hold again. Hope a hug is that laxative. Made it perfect, he practicing. I boomerang to that lap again. When he coming through, knock door, wear them shoes. Policeman in living room. Mama lies, he done flew. They move on, but we don't move. Hey, all I know is that we keep falling. We be squeezed up in apartments. It was told to me that we be targets. Hey, stay away from police departments. Dominoes. All I know is that we keep falling. We be squeezed up in apartments. It was told to me that we be targets. Hey, stay away from police departments.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mirage, Dominoes here on Deeper Than Music Radio. And like I was saying before we before we played the song, I wanted to park, and I wanted to get your thoughts on Logic. Logic is also a hip hop artist, biracial, and he makes it a point to talk about his experiences being biracial. What are your thoughts on him as an artist and his musical content?
Man, Logic is incredible. It's crazy because I feel like not just me and Logic, but me and Eminem as well, we just have a lot in common. But specifically Logic, he's biracial, but he looks white on the outside, a lot like me. And also, I believe some of his family experienced foster care as well. So his family has been affected by foster care and social workers, and just the whole system in general and that nature. So he really understands that, and he speaks from that mainly on Under Pressure. But I think I really like his energy. I think that he is, he's very raw with his approach to music. Like, he's not concerned with what you think. He's just going to kind of put it out there. And I really appreciate his honesty in music and his energy. I think his energy level is really good. But yeah, he's someone that is another person who studies the game. I think when he recorded The Incredible True Story, I believe it's called. Yeah, that was the album that shook me the most. That was actually how I got introduced to him, was that album. And I just had that on heavy rotation, like just listening to it over. And on the album itself, he talks about he was listening to A Tribe Called Quest, stuff like that. He had different things, I think Scarface streaming and like different movies and stuff. So he was like really trying to pull from the 90s era when he wrote that, and you can tell it's got some really good influences on it. I really like Logic's work ethic. I've seen some of his live. I haven't seen him perform live, but I've seen his live shows on like YouTube or whatever. Heat energy. So I really do like his artistry a lot. Yeah. So
in this being an independent artist, creating your own pathway in this music industry, what has been your biggest struggle or struggles in the game, in your journey?
Wow. Biggest struggles in the industry. I would say I think learning the business side of things was something I really had to overcome. Mm-hmm. I was just like, I think a lot of musicians start out thinking, oh, if I'm just a dope MC, I hit upload and then everything else takes care of itself. And I wish it was like that, but it is far.
No, it's far from that.
Yeah, it's not that.
Especially the game is saturated. Yeah, so I understand where you're coming from with that.
Absolutely, it's so saturated, and so you really have to. Being dope almost doesn't even matter. I mean, we hear artists on the radio all the time that aren't dope.
Oh man, yeah.
It's really about work ethic and preparation, daily content, and opportunity. That's really, I think, some of the most essential things. And like your branding, like I think a lot of MCs, an overwhelming amount, are absolutely not concerned with branding at all. Like, they are only concerned with the beats and the writing to the beats. Some of them don't even do that. They just want to freestyle everything. Yeah. But on top of that, you can't freestyle a brand. You need people to remember you. You need to have an impact. You need to have an image. You need to have a message you're trying to translate physically in the nonverbal communication pathway, just like you are verbally. So you've got to, you got to have a look. You got to have a branding. You've got to be able to cultivate an audience. You've got to be able to rally that audience for different causes. And instead, now the internet is broken up where you can just kind of piece out things and get a fabricated version of that. So you can go buy Twitter followers, and you can go buy likes and comments, and you can buy XYZ and look like you have an audience. But the truth is, when I click on your first image and it's got 2 likes, but you have 48,000 followers, then everybody knows that your brand is not real.
Yeah.
So, and I sympathize with them. I'm not hating on them. I'm sympathizing because I understand you want the numbers, you want the labels and the industry people to respect that and to respect your artistry. But I think it's almost like we're trying to skip steps. And I quickly learned that you can't skip steps.
Oh no. And Steve Harvey spoke to that, man. He said there's no shortcut to success. Because you may get to a certain point, but eventually that's going to fall through and you're going to have to repeat. And like you said, I guess with that dynamic, it's kind of, people see that with certain things, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, no, it's a numbers game. I'm sorry. But like you said, if you buy followers, they're not true followers. They'll eventually unfollow. I'm like you, man. I believe in an organic grassroots type of movement. And in order for your foundation to be steady, you have to do the dirty work. You have to dig that hole. You have to lay the concrete. Trying to do a quick fix is like having concrete without the right mixture. You know what I mean? It's going to fall through. So you speak to something that, I see where people may see the Soulja Boy story or, the Justin Bieber, I got to get all these likes, X, Y, and Z. But if it's not organic, if it's not true, it's not sustainable.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I think another big thing is just internet hate. Here recently, I've seen a large dose of internet hate, and it's completely unrelated to music. Actually, it'll be people that'll comment, "Hey, you look like this," or "You do this," or "You do that," and complete strangers. And that's kind of been a crazy experience. But that's something that, that's another skill that has to be continually developed and improved upon. It is, thick skin.
Yeah, and you have to have thick skin.
People are going to say music's right, and when your music's dope, they can't hate on the music.
Exactly.
I don't know that there's been definitely nobody in the last 10 years that's came up to me and said, "Hey, man, your song this is whack." Like, nobody's done that before. But so I think when they can't attack the music, they may try to just attack you personally, and just really growing that skin to be as thick as possible to deal with that. That's kind of a new phenomenon. I follow a lot of people and look at a lot of people. I'm connected to some people, and I see how they deal with it. And I just think it's fascinating. I think it's an interesting phenomenon how a complete stranger can see some art you put out and just hate on it.
Yeah, and they say, the thing is, like, if you're hating, you got haters, you're doing it right. And what I've seen, and I love what Tyler Perry talked about, is you build your own brand, man. Believe me, when I started a lot, like, I have a record label called Standalone Music, a few standalone, and especially when people don't go against the grain. It's kind of like the hamster wheel. And then when somebody decides to create their own path, people fear what they don't understand, or people put you at their level. Like Jay-Z said, people put their expectations on you, and when you go against the grain, they don't know how to accept it. However, when they do see your success, and eventually those haters become fans, man, we only got like 6 minutes left. I want to let's go into your song Skirt, or is that Skirt? And then let's get back to a little bit of this interview. But I want to showcase the music, man. We definitely got a lot of conversation.
Definitely, yeah. Skirt, man, is it's about when you finally make it, and nobody believed you could do it, and then you leave, you go off and do whatever that is, and then you come back to your hometown, and it's kind of like, now what? Like, kind of that whole mentality of, I did it when nobody believed in me kind of deal.
Oh, okay. So as we were talking about the haters, this is a song to, I finally made it despite against all odds. Skirt here on Deeper Than Music Radio with Mirage.
Hi, this is Jessica Rose, and you are listening to Furious on Deeper Than Music.
When I come through and skirt by your house, You know I'ma had a tongue out. Like Jordan, it's important for the proud. And you know better, shoulda had no doubt. Yeah, and you know you better make way. You see my shows, you know they making waves. I've seen your life and everything is staged. Ain't nothing worse than when they being fake. Yeah, coming down hard. Yeah, hey, coming down from that boulevard. Yeah, coming down straight to you. Hey, coming down, making moves. Yeah, this a whole new vision, whole new business. Hey, pay them no attention, don't need no fiction. Might make 13 on a Friday, they don't get it. They not touching that, they superstitious. Hard to come from humble beginnings. Lo behold, Nova Scotia linen. Breaking records on the phone with Guinness. Know your soldiers don't condone the winning. All you know is making soda living. Braggadocio rolling up and renting. Whips and soda shows with low attendance. Trying to go toe to toe with limits. I'm about to get a million as an independent. What you winning, you can win, it's all the finish. Hey, I'ma let you finish in a minute. Hey, you ain't gonna sit up on the bitches. Hey, oh, it's my name that you dissing. You just a lame in the distance. Open your wishes, making that way to fruition. You better move in them O's. Yeah, stay in your lane. Take it from Kiffin, don't make no difference. Know that you came to solicit. Don't worry, I'm gonna sign on your pictures. Then you can put it on pictures. Steady be chasing your pension. When it be coming to pinches. Don't get defensive. I'ma show you how to get this. We just gon' kill it and leave it no witness. When I come through and skirt by your house, you know I'ma had a tongue out. Like Jordan, it's important for the proud. And you know better, shoulda had no doubt. Yeah, and you know you better make way. You see my shows, you know they making waves. I've seen your life and everything is staged. Ain't nothing worse than when they being fake. Yeah, coming down hard. Yeah, hey, coming down from that boulevard. Yeah, coming down straight to you. Hey, coming down, making moves. Leather jacket, gold chain. I'm a savage. This not bragging. I done paid my dues 1,000 lashes. On my cashes, trying to get my cabbage. No satisfaction. Gift and curse, I had his passion. Woo. When I come through and skirt by your house, you know I'ma had a tongue out. Like Jordan, it's important for the proud. And you know better, shoulda had no doubt. Yeah, and you know you better make way. You see my shows, you know they making waves. I've seen your life and everything is staged. Ain't nothing worse than when they being fake. Yeah, coming down hard. Yeah, hey, coming down from that boulevard. Yeah, coming down straight to you. Hey, coming down, making moves. Peep on the fleece, killing them up in they sleep. We bout to feast, you know this not a new feat. Cause you know that, no matter what we gon' eat. Toss me them keys, whipping no ceilings like weeds. You get no peace, you know that you the new slave. I see the blood on the leaves, I need no lease. If I'm a whip it, I own it, a wallet or piece. Hollin' about no pot to pee, but polish your piece. I'm about to piece, I'd be out on the beast. The follow was free, but I'm not about to go tease. That's not a try out for team, that's not what it seems. If I got show in the week, I be bending them corners like I would see.
Drop another DJ Clue bomb on them. Ladies and gentlemen, Mirage here, special guest on Deeper Than Music Radio, dropping gems and dropping some knowledge on you. So as with all great interviews, the time goes by so fast. So we have like a minute left, man. I want to give you shameless promotion time. People hear the music like, man, this is phenomenal. Where can they find you on social media? This is your time to promote what you got going on and where people can find you, etc.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Before I do that, real quick, I just want to wrap up that last segment by saying, if you're experiencing any kind of internet hate like that, which will happen at some point in your career, change that energy and put that energy out. And that's just a good way. I think the greats, they learn how to do that well. It's a skill.
Okay.
On that note, so I'm on all streaming platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, Google Play, Amazon Music, all of them. YouTube as well. I've got a couple videos out. I've got 2 projects that are getting ready to release. One is called Pastels. That will probably be the second project, and I've got a first project that is, I'm still working on a title. I've got some ideas, but I'll keep those right now. And then